Hey everyone, welcome to Wolpin's Gaming Den. Today we'll be covering the tutorial for the game, The Castles of Burgundy, the dice game. This is basically the roll and write version of the main game, The Castles of Burgundy, which if you're watching this video, there's a very high likelihood you've already, you know about the game and you're familiar with it. It's a very popular, well-regarded, highly ranked game designed by Stefan Feld, and this is the roll and write version of that game. So Stefan Feld definitely has a hand in it, but you also have Char Toussaint, my apologies if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, as designers for this game. So this tries to capture the essence of the spirit of that game, The Castles of Burgundy, in a roll and write format. And for the most part, I think it does a very good job of it. It's actually one of my favorite roll and writes, and I'm a little surprised that it doesn't really get more love than it actually does, because I feel it's quite good and a bit of an underrated game in that genre. So hopefully this video will help you get a little bit more excited about it if you don't like it already, and try it out for yourself. So with that said, let's crack into the game and see how it works. So obviously this being a roll and write, the components that we get are fairly straightforward. You have 5 dice that the game comes with. You have this die, which basically has different hourglass symbols on it. You have these 2 dice that have different colors on it. And then you have these 2 standard D6s off here on the side. So there's 5 of these that the game comes in with. You will also take one of these sheets, and the game comes with a big, huge pad of these. So, pick up one and make sure that all the players around the table have one of these as well. The rulebook says that you can go between 1 to 5 players for this particular game. Now, I think that restriction is more driven by the number of pencils that the game box actually comes with, because it's a roll and write. And if you hand each player a sheet, and if you can supply the extra pencils or pens as needed, there's no reason why you can't go to higher player count. So take that with a pinch of salt, if you will. But once you have your dice, you have your pencil, and you have your sheet of paper, and everybody else around the table, you're ready to get started. Now, the rulebook says that the player who owns the game is the one who will always roll the dice on the turn. But I mean, decide with your game group around the table how you want to do this. But generally speaking, at the start of each turn, this set of dice will be rolled. This will determine how time passes in the game, as well as what actions you can take in the game itself. And then once everybody's done their thing, you roll again, rinse and repeat until we go through the first phase. The game is played over 3 different phases, and this track over here tells you how you keep track of the time for the 3 different phases. And then at the end of the 3rd phase, of course, the game ends and we tally up our points in total. Let's have a quick look at the layout for this sheet, and then we'll go into how the rule works. So first off, as I said, the game works in 3 phases. This is where you keep track of the time itself. So we already know this one. This is where you will score your points for the 3 different phases. So, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, add them up. This is where you put the total score for the game overall by adding up these 3 subtotals. This is your main game area, and as you can see, and for the purpose of this teach, I'm going to pretend that you don't know Castles of Burgundy, so I'm going to go through this from scratch a little bit. You will see that there are different hexes with different colors. You will have to meet certain conditions to be able to complete one of these different hexes, and as soon as you start completing hexes that form a particular area of the same color, so these 3 orange are basically one area, these 2 blues are one area, 2 purples together, you get the drill. As soon as you complete a particular area, you will score points based on this particular table over here, depending on which phase you do it in. So in the first phase, if you complete an area of 1, which is something like this one or this one, because it's only just one color with one area, you will score 1 point. 2 of these together, so something like these 2 purples, will score you 4 points. And then you get the drill in terms of how it moves along. And then if you complete areas in subsequent turns, the amount of point that you will earn from those areas do start to decline a little bit. So incentive for you to go out there and complete as much as possible as early as possible in the game, rather than saving everything for the end. So that's roughly what this represents, and how sort of like, what you want to do with this one. We'll come into how you do it. And how you do it basically, well, some of it is explained here already. So what this tells you, this column over here with the different colors and the symbols, is the condition you need to meet to be able to complete a specific hex. So at the start of the game, you will start off with 1 hex already completed. So you see these 4 dark green ones. These are 4 castles. You will choose a castle, and that will be your starting location for the game. You can do this sort of like independently of everybody else. So each player around the table can choose their own castle, or you could all, the variant of the rulebook says you can all agree on a particular castle, and that's all you're choosing. That's a variant you could go with. Or you could all agree that you're choosing different castles, and that's another variant that the game can work with. But the core rulebook says you're choosing this independently of everybody else, so you don't know what everybody else is choosing when you make your own choice. So some of you could choose the same. Some of you could choose differently. That's all fine. So you will choose one and then complete that out. So let's have a quick look at these four. And let's say maybe what I want to do is complete this orange one. So what I will do is I'm just going to mark a cross off here. So this tells me I've completed this. Now, this is still phase one, and we have completed our first hex of one size. And as you can see, one size will give us 1 point. And that point is already pre-populated for us in this sheet over here. Because this is basically how you'll start the game. So everybody starts off with that 1 point. So it's pre-printed in this table over here. So we've done the initial setup work. On subsequent turns, we can only complete hexes that are adjacent to a hex that we've already completed. So for our next action, we can only really go to one of these adjacent ones over here. And the way that we will do this is by meeting this condition. So to complete a purple hex, you must roll a purple color on the color die, and you must have a pip value of 1 or 2. And that's how you can complete one of these. So if I wanted to complete this one, for example, I would need that combination from that die over there. So now the others hopefully make a little bit more sense. Gray, you must have rolled with a pip value of 3 or 4. Blue with a pip value of 5 or 6. For orange, all the values in a particular area. So these four, for example, must have different values. So the first one could be anything. So if this is a 1, these 3 cannot be 1s. And then if maybe you've done a 4 over here, then these 2 cannot be a 1 or a 4. So you get the gist of how that works out. For the castle, now obviously the first one is completed, but for the subsequent ones, you can only do it when you have a combination, a pip value that is the same as at least one adjacent spot. So if this had, let's say for example, a 5 in here, because you need a 5 to be able to get a blue, you can use a green castle dice color with a pip value of 5 to be able to complete this one off. And then lastly, yellow, you must have all same colors in a particular area. So if I did this with a 3, this must be a 3 as well. And that's how I would complete this. As soon as you complete a particular area, you will gain one of these benefits for that corresponding color. The way you gain the benefit is by circling it. And on your turn, you can use one of the benefits as a special action. And the way that you would use the benefit is by then crossing it out. So get the benefit, circle, use the benefit, cross it out. And we'll talk about what all of these benefits mean in a couple of minutes. And so basically you complete the particular area, you will score points for these. And then if you complete all hexes of the same color, you will score points based on if you're the first player to do it or the second player to do it. The first player to do it scores the point up top over here. And then the second player to do it for that color scores the next point over here. You don't assign points for anybody completing it third or fourth and so on. But ties are friendly. So if you have multiple players scoring it for the very first time on the same turn, everybody will score the higher value. And ties for the second place are friendly as well. So that's good. So with that said, we've covered most of what sort of like, the look and feel of this particular sheet looks like. So let's crack into what a turn structure looks like. And that really will help us round off learning the game itself. So we'll put the sheet here. We'll take all of our sort of like 5 dice and roll it and see how that works. So this die moved out to the side, but it was a 6. And this is what we had. So basically we have these 2 colors. We have these 2 pip values, and then we have an hourglass. That's a single hourglass, not a double. So the hourglass basically dictates how fast or slow the game goes. So the first thing you will do is you will take the hourglass and you will mark off the first square over there. If you had rolled 2 of these, you would mark off 2 squares. There's another action that takes place when you're sort of like doing the second. We'll come into that in a minute, but for now, you're basically crossing off as many squares as that happens. So in this case, it was just 1. The next thing that you will do is you will pick a particular combination of color and pip value and take its associated action. So let's come back to this sheet over here. So here we can see that we have dark green with a 6. Well, actually, it's not with a 6, it's just dark green. And then we have an orange. Now, this is not a particularly good roll for us because if you can see, we started off with this spot over here. Orange is the one color that we actually don't have anywhere near us, and green is also the one color that we don't have anywhere near us. So not a very good situation for us to be in for our very first roll, but this will also help us demonstrate one of the rules of the game, which is if you don't have a combination that you can actually work with, you basically get to circle one of these workers over here on the side. So that's a benefit that you get if you can't really do anything else with the dice on that turn. But let's maybe flip some of these values so that we can see how some of these may work. So let's say if this was one of the possible rolls. So we have gray, and then we have a value of 3. So let's say this was an option for us. We come back to our sheet and we can see, yes, we do have a gray sort of like hex next to us, which is one of the mines, and 3 is one of the eligible values for it. So what we can do is we can complete this with a value of 3 over here. So we've completed this particular hex, and that's our action for the turn. We've not completed an area because we still need another gray one to be able to complete this, but we are halfway there at this stage. Everybody will do their turn independently of what everybody else is doing. Once everybody's done their turn, you take all the dice and then you basically roll it all over again. Let's see what we have now. So we have blue, we have gray. For pip values, we have a 2 and a 6 and an hourglass of 1. So again, the hourglass will require one of these to be filled up as well. So we have done this. Next up, we can choose a combination between these two. So we could do gray and a 2 if it's legal, or a gray and a 6, or blue and a 2, or a blue and a 6, depending on whatever's legal and whatever we want. Coming back to our sheet, we can see that we do want to do a gray, but grays require 3 and a 4. So we can't really do that with the 2 or the 6. But we do have a blue next to where we are. And blues are, they will accept values of 6. So we could actually fill out one of these two. So maybe what we want to do is we want to fill out a 6 on this blue over here with the hope that it's going to help us expand our path to the center of the board and really open up options for us. Again, we've not completed an area, so we're going to keep going on that one. Let's say we'll roll this again. We get 2 of these and then these values. So maybe, we could do something like this. And this is a good time to sort of like look at this example. So we have 2. So we're going to fill out 2 squares for this particular hourglass right over here. And then the next thing that we will do is we like this combination with the gray and the 3. So we're going to try and fill that out over here. So coming back, we can see that, we do have a gray that we want to complete because it's going to complete this area for us. And 3 is a value that it does accept. So here we go. We're going to use this combination to fill out this 3 over here. A couple of things will happen. First of all, we've completed this area. So we'll come back to this scoring section over here, and it tells us that we've completed an area of 2. We're still in the first phase, so we're going to score 4 points. So we're going to write down our 4 over here. And because we've completed an area, we get one of these benefits. So we get to circle it, which means we have sort of like obtained this benefit, as it were. And then the game will keep on continuing in this fashion, moving on and on. Now, I'm not going to go through more of these because hopefully you now have a better sense of the flow of the game. I'll maybe show you sort of like how some of the other locations may need to be filled. We had a look at the gray, we had a look at this. We now have this opened up to us as well, this green castle one, because we do have 1 hex connected to it. To complete something like that, we would need the green with a value of 6 combination to do this, because 6 is next to this one. So this tells us that, we have a 6 next to this one, so we can complete this one. And if we were to complete this, we'd cross it out and then circle that corresponding benefit. So earlier on, we had taken this one. I should have circled this one out, which I forgot to do. So I'm going to fix that now. And then if I were to get this, I would circle this as well at the same time. And then for these, obviously, we said they had to be different values. For yellows, we said they had to be the same value. And then the others hopefully make sense to you at this point. So you'll continue in this fashion going on and on until you accumulate some of these benefits and you go through the round on that turn. So I'd also said that on your turn, you can use one of your benefits, basically these ones that you would have circled. And let's have a quick look at how that works. So starting with this one. So if I had circled this guy over here, I can use this. So by circle, I basically mean it would have looked something like this. And to use it, you're going to cross it out. So that means you have now used it. And when you're using it, what you can do, and there's a handy dandy reminder here at the bottom, is that you can treat any color as a wild. So I might, let's say for example, if I like the value of 6, but obviously maybe I can't use the green with this, but I could use the 6 with the blue. So I can just pretend that this is a blue and use that activation on my turn instead of this one. You're not physically going to flip the value or the side of any particular die, because remember, everybody is using the same dice as well, so you can't really change anything that impacts others. But you're just going to pretend this is a blue 6 and then fill it up as you need on that front. So that's basically what this guy does. This one is this symbol over here. So what this basically means is whenever you're using up one of that, you can create another combination with your die and then use that to activate it. So let's have a look at this, and maybe on our turn, this is what we rolled, and we use the gray with the 3 to fill up one of sort of like the gray hexes on that turn. We can, if we had one of these available, we could cross it out and use another combination. And another combination could be one of the existing dice with a different one that was not used, or all different ones. But there must be at least one dice that you're using now that you had not used earlier on the same turn itself. So there must be at least one new dice that gets used. And then, maybe I've done this, and now I can use these two in their combination and then complete another blue hex as well, using following all the legal requirements and whatnot. Next up, you have this. So you'll circle these when you have the blue areas covered up. The way that this works is you don't choose to activate it. The way that this activates is whenever one of these double hourglass symbols are rolled. And that's what I was saying when I said that, let's keep that in mind, and we'll come back to this in a second. Whenever this is rolled, everybody gets to sell. So these are called goods. Everybody gets to sell all the goods that are available to them at that particular point in time. And each good that you sell will get you one of the ore, which is basically this symbol over here, and also net you 2 points. So as an example, if I had only one available to me, I would cross this out, then I would circle one of these because this gets me one of that, and I would write down 2 points over here. On the other hand, if I had two available to me at the same time and the double hourglass symbol is rolled, I can sell both of these together. So it benefits you to have multiple activations together, or maybe not, but it is an option for you that you can have. And you can sell both of these to get 2 of these now, and 2 and 2, 4 points over here. So that's basically what this one does. This is a worker. So whenever you want to use up one of these, similar to the purple one, this allows you to treat any pip value as a wild. So you can use an existing combination of colored die, but you can pretend that the pip value is anything you want it to be for you to be able to fill it up. So that's when you're using this. This gets you one of each of these different 4, because as you look at the different castles around the screen over here, they give you one of each one of these. So depending on which one you're using, just activate that benefit. It's as simple as that. And then the yellow one over here at the very bottom, what all this tells you is that when you're scoring for that particular area, it's not a specific benefit, but when you're scoring for that area, instead of getting whatever you were supposed to get according to this, you get twice the points. So it's pretty handy if you want to get a bunch of points on the same thing. So for example, if you were to complete these 2 in the first phase, normally you should have gotten 4, but instead you will now get 8 points. And the game will continue in this fashion. So you will continue going through your turn order. And once you've completed a particular column over here, that's the end of that phase. If you ever roll a double and there's only 1 hex that you have to complete, you don't complete 1 hex here and 1 hex there. You only do the 1 hex here and that's it. And you do a fresh start on the other side. You will do that for phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And at the very end of it, you're basically adding up all the different points for your 3 different phases. And then whoever has the most points at that stage wins. And that's roughly the rules for Castles of Burgundy, the dice game. As I said, I've already mentioned a couple of variants earlier on in the game. So one variant that you could play with is when everybody chooses the same castle to start off with. The other variant is when everybody agrees and chooses different castles to start off with. So those are the two variants you could try the game out with as well if you find that interesting. And then lastly, if you are playing solo, you will basically be trying to improve on your own score. So you're basically taking a score, but then you're trying to beat your own score at that point. So that's basically how the solo would work. I'll leave it up to you to sort of like delve into the rule book and go into more details on that, but that's roughly the gist of that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's basically how you play the game of Castles of Burgundy, the dice game. I like it personally quite a bit, and I hope that you give it a try, and hopefully you will enjoy that for yourself as well. With that, we're pretty much done for this particular video. If you enjoyed it, if you have any thoughts, comments, suggestions, please feel free to leave them down below. And if you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Hopefully you'll give the video a like, subscribe to our channel, and take care. I'll see you in the next one.